Hello everybody, this is Nekome and welcome to watch my reaction to the Tales of Tangerine, how the Clementine comic failed. Okay, if you're my old watcher that came from my old channel, it's still up, I just don't make game videos there. But hey, if you're there, if you're here, then hi, I hope that you're doing well and thank you so much for still supporting me and still being here. I really appreciate it. People that don't know, I'm a huge Walking Dead fan, and I did a gameplay of the last final season on my second channel, and I can leave a link to the description if you want to check it out. Yeah, I would say that people like Michael Lewis reactions because not many people picked him, so if you're his supporter, you might be able to watch it. But yeah, if you're a Valentine stan, I'm not sure. Maybe you will enjoy it. I know some stuff about the comic. I have been talking about it with this one person. It has been a while, but yeah, I want to get into doing Walking Dead videos again. And I actually really like downfall videos, even though I really like Walking Dead and I don't want it to fail. But I'm so curious to see what she has to say. So this channel, Lucky, go show her some love. Please, I'll leave the link to her video in the description. So let's get started.
Hello everybody, it's feature Nekome here, and I wanted to say that at the end of the video there will be some cuts, because at the end of the video there are moments where I just don't really know what to add, because the original video has so many good points and lots of information. For example about Valentine, and I haven't played Valentine route, so I don't really know what to say about that. And there are some other things that I had to cut because I don't wanna repeat a video where I don't really have anything to say, and it's not fair for the creator that made this original video. So I recommend you guys to go watch the original video if you want to see the full video. And I recommend you to do so because the parts I had to cut out were really good and really interesting.
Clementine would star, for the first time, in a comic book adaptation entitled Clementine Lives, following her adventures after the events of Season 4. The majority of fans were delighted at this announcement, eagerly anticipating their next chance to revisit their favorite characters from the
Fans were excited. I'm like, yeah, it didn't last long. The excitement didn't last.
Erickson boarding school and watch Clem continue to grow up and develop. Yet all the same, others voiced concern. Season 4 was unique in that it provided Clementine a closed, objectively happy ending, and to continue a cleanly finished story would potentially risk that.
I have to say, I really love her voice.
However, the majority of fans remained relatively optimistic and open-minded, until the actual comic itself was released. Not only did the comic realize fans' worst fears in undoing Clementine's happy ending, but it distorted a character that, at this point, had been extremely well established and well developed across the course of 4 games into something virtually unrecognizable. Huge chunks of her personal history were either purposely ignored or just outright forgotten. Her personality shifted into something not even resembling any of the potential playstyles you could have employed when playing Clementine.
I read the first chapter. I think I haven't read the second one, but I know what happens in it. I know some stuff. But my main problem that I have told before is that no, I don't need this story to continue. I was happy I had a fucking romantic ending. I don't need anything else. What about people that are people that want Clementine to be a certain thing, and then the comic comes and she can't be that anymore because the comic fucking ruins it.
And every single character we'd grown to know and love throughout the course of these games was either abandoned or discarded.
Yes.
Ultimately, the comic book version of Clementine wound up being so alien and off to the people that have played her for close to a decade. A joke arose in fandom that this version of Clementine wasn't Clementine at all, but rather Clementine's evil alter ego.
Really? Did they really say that? I didn't know that. Wow, that's really cool to be honest. Wow.
Tangerine. But the sort of joke prompts the question, how do you manage to alienate your audience this badly within the span of 2 books? There are numerous reasons why this.
I mean, I would say that the first book already destroyed everything. I only read it because I wanted to see shit burn. To be honest, I didn't even think that it was gonna be good.
Season 4 ending of Telltale's The Walking Dead is considered by fans to be the perfect conclusion to Clementine's story. I mean, take a look at the tale that's told in these 2 pictures alone. We get the great pleasure of watching Clementine grow.
Oh, Kenny Scar, yes, girl, go Kenny Rod, Kenny Rod, Kenny. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but fuck yes!
Into the same protector that ensured that she was able to survive the apocalypse at all, guiding a child every bit as vulnerable as she herself once was. These images are such a sweet testament to the cyclical nature of Lee's compassion and kindness, beautifully showcasing the way that Clementine has ingrained those qualities within herself as she's aged. There's also this blazing determination in her eyes that we see within the actual game to ensure AJ is able to have the safety and stability her own protector, Lee, sacrificed everything to attempt to give her, but still unfortunately couldn't. And a big aspect of what makes Season 4's ending so perfectly satisfying is the fact that Clementine does. After 3 consecutive games of finding homes Clem feels she can settle into and people that she knows she likes, only to have each and every single one of them traumatically ripped away.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I think it's a really nice ending. It's kind of like a perfect fairy tale ending. I mean, not really goes Louise or Violet or Ten can die, but I still little bit like I'm probably in minority in this opinion, but I don't really. I mean, I don't really know. I'm not angry. I'm not sad that Clementine didn't die, but I just feel like it's the plot armor. It's so clear, the plot armor. Like everybody else that gets paid, they fucking turn, and for some reason Clementine doesn't turn, even though she's wandering around for a very long time. And I guess that bothers me a little bit. Not that much. I will be like, and fuck this. I hate this ending. But I kind of wish that when that scene happened, the emotional moment would have been happened sooner, so she won't have been wandering around, because then it makes it so like she really has a plot armor, because she doesn't turn even though she should be turning already. Even Lee cuts it. He walks around and he cuts it, and I feel like Lee and Clementine had like the same amount of time to be with their bite marks, so I just feel like it's a little bit of blood armor. It was still good. I don't really care too much, but if I can be a critic, I will be a little critic there.
Having to move constantly in order to ensure day-to-day survival, Clem finds, once and for all, a forever place, filled with people her age, the likes of which she's rarely had the opportunity to speak to. Just to further hone in this theme as literally as possible, the final episode of Season 4 is entitled Done Running, with the chapter ending with Clementine losing a limb, in part to signify that she no longer has to run and hide.
Aww.
She no longer needs to roam the ends of the earth in search of a home. But moving beyond the extremely on-the-nose symbolism, just take a moment and think of the implications that losing a leg has in the Walking Dead universe. This is a world in which your worth alive is defined by your ability to physically contribute to the groups that you're in. It's a world in which anybody that doesn't have the same ability to contribute is regarded as a liability that ought to be disposed of.
So they're showing Benny. Oh. I mean, Krista wasn't really like, let's get rid of him. I mean, Kenny has like a real reason to want to get rid of Ben. But it's true. It comes with both question that you have to leave him, leave someone behind. Might as well be the one that is not useful at all.
At the earliest possible opportunity, Clementine has witnessed with her own eyes just how cruelly the most vulnerable members of society are treated under this context. In Season 2, she watches as people continuously argue to abandon Rebecca, a pregnant woman, and Sarah, a child even older than she is, for their perceived uselessness. So from an early age, Clem has likely internalized the idea that in order to be liked, in order to be kept, she must contribute as much as humanly possible. Now, bearing all of this in mind, Imagine how frightened Clementine must have been upon waking up and realizing she lost a limb, likely fearing that she has finally outlived her usefulness, only to be proven wrong by her boarding school peers valuing her all the same. They expend priceless, difficult-to-attain resources to attempt to save her life in the midst of terrible odds, and likely spend weeks nursing her back to health. And the minute that Clementine is well enough to walk, she finds she still has a place at their table. She is still their equal. She is still important. Finally, she has found a place where she is not exclusively viewed through the lens of what she can and cannot give. The home that
Oh my god. I'm not gonna say anything. This is not a quiz video. This is fine. This is fine.
she's been craving and the home that AJ so desperately needs. And then we've the comic, where I guess the author just glossed over that part. The Clementine comic opens up with Clementine sneaking out of the Erickson boarding school at the crack of dawn.
Sneaking. She's like, fuck everybody. I'll be going.
Clementine appears extremely aware of the fact that what she's doing is considered in many cultures, including this one, a dick move, leaving at this time purposely to avoid having to face the people that she's wounded with this choice, and make off with their supplies. However, despite her attempting to be sneaky, she loudly slams the door on her way out without a care in the world, which draws the attention of AJ, who follows her. They proceed to have a conversation that insinuates that Clementine has taken off like this on numerous occasions without warning, and ends with Clementine tearfully telling AJ that she has to break her promise to never leave him because he doesn't make her happy.
That's a clown writing move. Oh shit.
The Erickson boarding
Okay, maybe I could rewrite this story. How would I rewrite this comic? If she has to leave, she has to have a good reason to leave. Maybe Ichi is sick and she needs to get him some medicine. That's a good plot. And she could like take someone with her that is not gonna die in the game. If the issue is that you want to get her out of here because you can show characters that can die, then make someone come with her, like Ruby, for example. I don't think Ruby can die. Ruby and Clementine. I mean, Asim, maybe? But I mean, it still will be a little weird that Wallet or Louis won't come with her. I don't. Yeah, 10 doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
school at the crack of dawn. Clementine appears extremely aware of the fact that what she's doing is considered in many cultures, including this one, a dick move, leaving at this time purposely to avoid having to face the people that she's wounded with this choice, and make off with their supplies.
Yeah, and I have to say that I don't really like this shot. It makes it seem like she is just happy to get away from there, and like the sun is rising. It looks like shit is going really well for her. She doesn't seem to have any remorse in this photo, which makes it seem like manipulating the readers. The reader should be accepting that what she's doing, sneaking away, smiling happily. Sun is shining. It's all love and fine and everything is magical. But it feels like manipulating. It doesn't feel good at all.
However, despite her attempting to be sneaky, she loudly slams the door on her way out without a care in the world, which draws the attention of AJ, who follows her. They proceed to have a conversation that insinuates that Clementine has taken off like this on numerous occasions without warning, and ends with Clementine tearfully telling AJ that she has to break her promise to never leave him because he doesn't make her happy.
You can't make me happy. I mean, that's like an. Okay, I think I criticized this already on the past. I don't remember what I exactly said because it has been many years. But you can't make me happy, HA. What the fuck? Really? Like, she's done everything for HA, but I mean, honestly, that doesn't sound like her.
I don't even have the words to describe how wildly out of character a decision this is for Clementine. Clementine, who watched this child be born and fought to raise him in the worst circumstances a human could possibly raise one. Whenever she even thinks she has lost AJ or that he has been hurt in some way, she becomes visibly distraught to the point that she struggles to function. When he is taken from her, Clementine transforms into a person willing to betray every moral she ever clung to in order to get him back home. killing numerous people in the process. When she thinks she's dying, she racks her brain for how best to ensure his survival and happiness, and uses what she believes to be her final moments to reaffirm survival rules and tell him that she loves him. And then, at this moment, she is given a second chance at life. She has a happy, permanent home filled with people that love her, friends, and even potential
Girl, did you go with Louis' romance route? Fuck yes, I love you. Let me kiss you. I mean, maybe not, but I just appreciate your choices.
lovers that she can grow close to without fear of them being snatched away, and a place where she and AJ can finally have the opportunity to be the children they could never be up until this point. So naturally, I and many other readers had to wonder, where exactly is comic book Clementine suddenly not finding happiness when this is the culmination of everything she's ever worked for and dreamed of? Season 4 ends with her giving her iconic hat, the last reminder she has of her father and of the old world she was born into, to AJ, which is a beautiful act of passing on the mantle, but also cements that she likely sees herself as being akin to his mother, which for all intents and purposes she is. To make poor matters even more insulting, after promptly abandoning the Erickson boarding school, Clementine finds an abandoned ski lodge stocked by a group of teenagers attempting to establish a walker-free settlement. Oh my goodness. Where have I heard this song before? When befriending these new characters, comic Clementine discusses her reasons for leaving the boarding school, because she believes that after becoming disabled, they perceive her as a liability, which A, craps on the beauty that is the Season 4 ending, and B, doesn't even make sense because depending on your actions, there is an extremely high likelihood there is at least one other disabled person at Erickson.
That's a great point. That's excellent point. Also, I don't know, maybe she brings this out too, but the fact that she was willing to leave a person she said she loved. And there's a very huge possibility also that Clementine has a love interest too. So I don't think that love interest is willing to abandon them if it's not specifically said in the comic.
Violet can lose an eye. Louis can outright lose his entire tongue.
Eek.
Yet we see within the Season 4 ending they are just as loved and cared for as Clementine. It's a bad justification for a decision that doesn't make sense in context of what we have already seen.
Yeah, it feels like this place is accepting to everyone, and it's grateful that what everybody has done. It feels like an place of love and support and friendship. And please let me see a kiss.
And speaking of
No,
scenes that don't
they
make
didn't let me see a kiss. I still would love to get a romance DLC. I will buy the shit out of it. Okay, they'll tell Skybond, make a romance DLC for Clementine, and I will buy it. I will buy it if it's about Louis and Clementine. I mean, it can be about every love interest, but I won't love it. I will fucking be so happy, la la la.
make sense in context of the games. One of the biggest flaws of the Clementine comics is the way they approach Clementine's history. The author has claimed to have played all 4 of the Telltale Walking Dead games prior to starting the comic, albeit rapidly. And while though I typically like to take authors at their word, there are so many glaring inconsistencies that I struggle to rationalize how she could have done that and still made the errors that she did. Because a huge chunk of these aren't tiny details that you may easily miss when rushing through.
Yeah.
They're significant parts of Clementine's history. To provide 2 examples, let's take book 2. In this book, a friend of Clementine's gets pregnant, and she and the rest of the group must start preparing for her to give birth. There, she makes the remark that she has seen a baby be born before, but it was so scary she blocked the entire thing out. Which isn't true because Clementine's seen too. Before meeting AJ's mother, Rebecca, Clementine is accompanying Krista, who gives birth but is heavily implied to have lost the baby either in the process or shortly after it was born. There is this incredibly solemn atmosphere between the two of them, so it'd make sense if this were the birth that Clem was referring to, but it's not. AJ is the only birth in the series we actually get confirmation that Clem sees, but Rebecca is heavily covered throughout the process, and it's doubtful that Clem sees anything explicit. But setting this aside, the series takes care to establish that this is a beautiful memory for Clem, not terrifying. She grows delighted when she sees that both Rebecca and AJ are okay, and her expression softens and melts the moment that he's placed into her arms. She loves him in the innocent and instantaneous way that children do, with Kenny making the remark that she's a natural big sister. So I don't understand how you could take that scene and assume it was a negative memory. In book 2,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Maybe it could make in a sense that Sarah can die at that moment, but I don't guess that's about your choices. And what I don't like. Okay, let's. Okay, I need to see that moment again. I've seen a baby born before, but it was so scary. I plucked it out. But Clementine can also help with the birth, right? I think she can, but she can like do the whole progress. But I feel like she's being useful. She can help, and she doesn't seem like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, Kenny. I honestly really need to leave now. Kenny will fucking punch the shit out of her. No, he won't do that to Clem. The issue is with this. If the author has played the game, she knows that this thing happened in the game. If she's going to refer something that happened into the game, even though you think you're like thinking correctly, or if you're making your own headcanon, if you're thinking like, oh my god, this line sounds good, you need to like go check the scene because you know that scene has happened before. You can't choose. You have to make sure that even if you have a great line in your mind, you need to make sure that it fits with the past story and the new story. Honestly, that's not so hard. It makes it seem like she has played the game and she just doesn't remember it at all. Like, I won't care. It feels like she wants to have her own narrative happening here. She knows exactly what she wants, and she doesn't think what the character is or what the character has been through outside of her own writing.
be born before. But it was so scary she scars her have a cheek. Story forgets a huge chunk of the scars.
And if she thinks like giving birth is scary, like what about the cannibalism shit? I mean, I don't know if she comments about that. I mean, I think there's her dialogue that she can make a joke about. She can refer to the cannibalism event, so she remembers that too. So I guess the fucking giving birth scene is just so horrifying. Ugh.
That Clem canonically has. She doesn't just have a bullet wound and visible amputation scars. She's been mauled by a dog, has a large brand, and depending on your actions can have a cheek or forehead scar, be missing a finger, or have a tattoo on her hand. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why does it matter whether or not they're even there? There are arbitrary design choices, but in-game, these scars are symbolic of heavily transformative moments for Clem. To abandon them is to abandon her history, and a big aspect of what makes her, her.
Oh, thank God, please talk about the scar thing. I have made this point. I think I made this point in my last video about that. She doesn't have a scar. She doesn't have anything. Does she have any losing? How the fuck does she not have any scars? I mean, it will be like they're canonizing one ending moment. I can say that. That's not my Clementine because my Clementine has a scar. This Clementine doesn't have a scar. This means that this is different universe Clementine. I mean, I guess that could make sense.
The comic is also littered with brief flashback sequences to scenes we see in game, likely to attempt to placate frothing, raging fans. However, these inserts don't succeed because a decent amount are drawn in accurately to what the player has witnessed. Let's take this flashback scene in the introductory chapter. Snow is something we heavily associate with Season 2 Clementine, but both Clementine and AJ are clearly far too old for this to be the case. If this is prior to the events of the New Frontier, then Clementine should be in the company of a sizable group, and if it's after, then she was said to have stolen a car. Clementine also flat out doesn't seem to remember the people that she's encountered and that have shaped her life up to this point. Throughout her journey in the comics, the only person she ever seems to semi-consistently think of is Lee.
Of course.
Occasionally, she'll vaguely allude to another figure. Like, at one point, she winds up naming her prosthetic Kenny.
Yes, prosthetic Kenny. I mean, I have to say that I like that thing because everything Kenny related mentioned is fucking cold mine to me. Kenny is the man. Kenny is my favorite character. He will forever be. I love him. I don't know why I love him. The scene where I can hug him in the New Frontier. It's just very, I feel really emotional that I feel like I honestly feel so much love towards Kenny. It's crazy. I'm getting chills, but I don't know why, but there's something about Kenny that I absolutely love. No one has ever in this game series made me feel as emotional as Kenny. Kenny is a figure I would love to have as a father figure. Even though he's not perfect and he's pretty messed up at times, everything that comes down to him, the most important thing in him is love. I don't know what I'm saying. I hope someone is understanding what I mean, but I love him. I love him more than Luis and Clementine. I just love him.
But when asked, some guy she knew once, when Kenny was something more akin to an uncle. Yet this coldness and
What did she actually?
But when asked, she reduces him to some guy she knew once, when
Some guy she knew once. Oh my god! He was not just one guy. For my Clementine, he was, I will say, a father figure, but I guess Lee takes that spot. But I will say that he was something like a father figure, not exactly, but something that she felt like he could possibly be part of the home she needed and wanted. I feel like I wish that that family came true, but it didn't.
when Kenny was something more akin to an uncle. Yet this coldness and nonchalance is something I've seen extend to all aspects of Clementine's
An uncle is fine too, but I feel like they have better connection, but it's fine.
character in the comic. The closest way I can explain her personality shift is that she seems to have been written with her new frontier personality, without the understanding that persona was born from one of the lowest, most traumatic moments of her life. She is highly impulsive to the point of idiocy, has a raging superior complex to the extent she believes her way is the only right one, is extremely unjustifiably rude, but also extremely flaky and indecisive. Allow me to briefly illustrate this using yet another example from Book 2. Clementine stumbles upon a town where a significant population of walkers are being held back by a strong blockade. This is not a new community dynamic for Clem by any means. The majority of the established settlements in this universe
That makes me think about Carver's camp for some reason.
are able to survive due to blockades. And yet, Clementine becomes absolutely obsessed with the idea that every walker there needs to be immediately disposed of. She approaches the leader of the town, a woman named Miss Morrow, and tells her their number one priority should be getting rid of the walkers, to which the leader rightfully responds literally when, reminding Clementine they have to harvest grain, cure fish, and store wood while summer is still around, and that if this is not done, the winter will end them. While she acknowledges Clementine's trauma regarding walkers, she reminds her that she is traumatized too, and has seen firsthand there are an infinite number of ways to die beyond being bitten. So, instead of responding with empathy and acknowledging why the leader would want to prioritize long-term survival when the walkers are being sufficiently held, Clem responds by stating that she understands the world better than Miss Morrow ever can, and will handle things.
Oh damn! I mean, she has lots of like knowledge, but we don't know the old ladies. We don't know what she has been through, gone through. So it's really hard. Like maybe you can compare what you know, and maybe then you can like think about something together.
On her own. So what does she do? She recruits the help of two others to construct a tunnel to stab walkers with. Except the tunnel is accidentally constructed to be too large, numerous walkers get in, and over half of the town is killed in the process. All because Comic Clem needed to handle something that wasn't even a threat to begin with. And there are few examples that better capture just how mind-numbingly selfish the comic book iteration of her is. Now, there is the potential argument that because Clementine is a playable character with determinant choices, you can't actually claim that she has a true personality at all. However, I'm of the opinion that regardless of the choices the player makes, there are still a handful of qualities we can always generally associate with Clem. Aside the fact that Comic Clem doesn't behave anything close to what we're accustomed to, she also doesn't physically look anything like herself. Now, I understand that Tilly Walden seems to prefer this more simplified, minimalistic style, and that it's unrealistic to crave the super thickly lined, detailed style we associate with this franchise, but there is almost nothing about this design that gives me this character. If you hadn't told me this was supposed to be Clementine, I genuinely wouldn't know.
She has really round face, at least in this shot. It feels kinda weird.
Clem's design even wildly fluctuates between pages. None of these look like the same character in my eyes. This is also a facet extended to other characters in the franchise during their singular appearances, such as AJ. Who is this little boy supposed to be? That's not his nose, that's not even his face shape. And so many of the characters here are prescribed the same bizarre potato face. If you remove the hair, they'd be virtually indistinguishable. And when it comes to the overall art of this comic, I find myself torn because I do believe Tilly Walden is a skilled artist. I just don't think her specific style is suited for the Walking Dead's world whatsoever.
That's
Look at the
good
quality
point.
of these more scenic panels. Look at how she utilizes color and space in her most highly appraised pieces. She's clearly extremely talented, but the beauty of this doesn't translate well into a gritty black and white world that doesn't allow her to adequately utilize the skills that she appears to be best known for. I also want to just take a moment and briefly touch on the main romantic relationship of these comics.
This one is gonna be painful and juicy. I don't think she looks bad, but just that we don't have a choice with the love interest is fucking killing me.
Which follows Clementine with a girl named Rika. When going over the main angle for these comics, Walden discussed wanting to create a coming-of-age story that navigated queerness in the apocalypse. A fun premise, but we already have something that does that. It's called Season 4. The entirety of Telltale's The Walking Dead is, in short, Clem's coming-of-age story, and while admittedly not the game's core focus, I've always loved the approach the games take to queerness as something that simply is. It translates that all into the comic, in large part because Clem does not share a healthy or compelling relationship with her love interest Rika. Violet and Clementine's relationship is founded in trust, the two gradually learning they can be vulnerable and open and intimate with each other in spite of living in a harsh apocalyptic world where these concepts seem unattainable. But that takes significant time in game, which is why it feels rewarding. In contrast, Rika continuously demands a level of intimacy from Clem she has not earned starting from even the earliest points of their relationship. She's pushy, gets wounded when Clementine doesn't confide every single detail of her day-to-day life or past within her, whereas Clem is flighty, indecisive, and generally terrible at communicating. They enter this relationship at borderline breakneck speed, despite never sharing the more tender moments that characterize the progression of a relationship. However, when it comes to criticizing the Clementine comics main pairing, there is this extremely popular misconception I commonly see passed around that Rika, the main love interest, is intended to be Tilly Walden's self-insert.
Yes,
An accusation that
I have heard that. That's so fucked up, yo. I don't have anything against. I haven't played the Valentine route, so I don't really have too much to say or add. To be honest, I can just like agree what she has. I think she knows more than me. I don't really know much because I haven't played it. I just know that she's there and she's an option. I mean, yeah, of course I will prefer Violet over her. Ugh, but the one thing that it could be the outro is really cringe.
the author as a creep that created an aged-down projection of her 27-year-old self to get with a 17-year-old girl. And this is a blatantly untrue accusation, and I'm going to tell you why.
Please.
This misconception largely stems from this image of Tilly Walden being the most common picture that people associate with Tilly Walden in contrast to this image of Rika. However, what this comparison doesn't account for is what Rika looks like in color and what Walden's comic style generally looks like. As stated previously, the majority of the characters share this facial shape. In color, Rika has dark hair, dark eyes, and dark skin, in contrast to Walden's light skin and hair. The only noticeable similarity the two share is the fact they both wear glasses, and their glasses aren't even the same shape. There are also numerous people that claim that Walden and Rika outright share similar personalities, to which I just had to ask, do you know Walden personally? Because there's no way that anyone can possibly claim to have an accurate assessment of an author's personality based off a handful of business-oriented interviews.
What I have an issue with is that in the comic, obviously we can't choose our sexuality. We have some certain sexuality like preferences, and in the comics it's gonna like just goes with the preference of the writer. Writer can write what she wants to write, and it's kind of like, even if the person writing it was straight person, then they will make an probably a guy love interest, and the people will get mad anyway. It's just it's an issue.
What I meant to say is that it's an issue. Then in the games you can actually choose like what is your sexuality, but when we go to the comic you can choose your sexuality and the writer can decide it for you, and that doesn't please everybody, which sucks when we go away from the choice-based games to the comic that only has one true route.